Welcome back to Automate Live. We have another very interesting interview talking about new business models, talking about robotics, talking about implementing automation. So we have Jordan Kretchmer, the co-founder and CEO of Rapid Robotics with us. Welcome, Jordan. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I couldn't resist after we had that fantastic event at your headquarter offices earlier this year, where my fellow co-host, although not Allie, our other co-host, if you don't know her, Courtney Fernandez, she's wandering around the floor somewhere or in her booth. We actually had some adventures in San Francisco getting rained on, but a really, really fun time at your offices, and so I couldn't help but make sure that we talked to you at Automate. For those that don't know Rapid Robotics, if you don't know who they are, can you tell people a little bit about you guys as a company and what you're bringing to the show?
Yeah, sure thing. So we started Rapid back in late 2019, right before COVID shut down.
Okay.
And the purpose of starting the company was to help the manufacturing industry solve the labor crisis, which has become kind of an existential thing for the manufacturing sector, from small, medium-sized companies all the way up to large enterprise manufacturers. And so the problem that we're solving is the amount of time and the amount of cost that it takes in CapEx to deploy robots is untenable for most use cases. And so there are dozens and dozens of use cases where the task itself is very repeatable, very simple, and looks very robotic on its face that aren't automated. And it's about 80% of those tasks that Rapid looks to automate very quickly with a ready-to-work robotic work cell that we pre-train in our own office. So when we do the deployment itself on site only takes 4 to 6 hours, and we can deploy a set of robots, a fleet of robots, onto your floor within just a few weeks of signing a contract with us. The pricing model is also incredibly accessible, so it is a robotics-as-a-service model that comes with all the consulting, the design work for the work cell, the design of the end-of-arm tooling, the design of the fixtures, the design of the workflow. Everything is done by our team in-house, and then the assembly of the work cell happens in one of our facilities in either the Detroit area or in San Francisco, and then we ship it to the customer and white glove deploy it ourselves. And so we remove all of the risk associated with, and time and money associated with trying to buy a robotic work cell sort of ad hoc, or working with systems integrators, which can be long lead times. And so that's how we're going to solve the scalability problem, deploying more robots faster using technology-enabled deployment structures.
That is really cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about your technology stack? Because on the face of it, it kind of looks like, okay, you have an industry standard, one of these robots out here. You guys have partnerships with many of the very great, cool manufacturers. It's on a little stand or something, but as I learned a little bit in the behind the scenes tours, there's some secret sauce to the stack there that you guys are working on. So
yeah.
Yes, you recognize the hardware, but there's some parts of that stack that you guys have that's pretty unique. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, you got it. So if we were just manually programming robots on teach pendants, like is what's been done for the last 20 years, we wouldn't be able to achieve the velocity that we have, right? So our goal is to deploy dozens and dozens of robots a month, and we achieve that by using simulation and AI that lives both on the edge and in our cloud service to pre-train the arms on what to look for in the work cell and how to execute their motion path most efficiently. And so the end result is an arm that is programmed pretty much automatically by our system, including the configurations of third-party devices like inspection cameras and conveyors, the machine itself. All of that is configured automatically in our system when we plug in those components. And so we're taking what would be 6 to 8 weeks just of pure programming time down to like less than a day, and before we are actually able to run that program on the physical arm to test it before we ship it to the customer. And so the end result is really, really fast deployments that are highly reliable, that can also be flexible on the floor. So one of the main issues that we run into with customers, and the reasons why they haven't automated in the past, is because, hey, I don't know if I'm going to have this program, a year from now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend, first of all, I don't want to spend $500,000 of CapEx, but I also don't even want to sign a 3 or 4 year contract with you, Rapid, not knowing if the mix in my business is going to make it so that press isn't going to be running that same, mold anymore. How am I going to, utilize that robot? That's why you see a lot of robot graveyards, right, at manufacturers, because they used it for a year or two, never even made back the money, so never even broke even on that deployment, and then that something changed in their business. The order quantities went down, the SKU changed by half an inch, and they said, it's not worth another 150 grand to reprogram it, so let's just decommission it. And so Rapid System, because we're using computer vision and AI on the edge with pre-trained programs on that arm, they can move the system. The Rapid Machine Operator is the name of the solution. They can move it, it's on wheels, they can move it between multiple operations over the course of a month, week, or even over the course of a day. And so the end result is maximum utilization of a resource that they're paying an effective hourly rate for. Just like a human operator can be moved between operations, so can the Rapid Machine Operator. So that's extremely valuable in both terms of like our long-term business and developing long-term partnerships, and is the reason that we've never had a robot returned to us. So of all the hundreds of robots we've deployed, not a single one has been given back to us. Even if they lost a program as our customer, they're able to work with us to remotely retrain that system to be redeployed within 24 hours against a different task.
That is really cool. I was going to ask about that because, of course, there's a certain risk in the business model to you guys if you set it up, and it does take some time to get ROI on that, right? And you don't want customers coming in, I'm going to use this robot for 6 months or a year and then just send it right back. But the fact that they're retrainable, like people. I mean, obviously they're not like people in many ways, in good ways, right? One of the applications I saw on your floor that you guys had there was like a pad printing machine. And I hadn't really thought about this, but you guys gave an example of a Mr. Fu that used to operate a pad printing machine for like 20, 30 something years. I forget how long it was.
Yeah, so 18 years.
18 years.
All he did was put, pieces of black plastic backing for semiconductor chips into a pad printer that was printing an adhesive, transparent band around the edge of the backing, and then stacking it in a stack. For 18 years, that is what he did. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And he wasn't the only one there. He was just the longest standing one. But those kinds of repetitive tasks that are really, really low margin, it doesn't make any sense to spend $500,000 putting a single robot in front of that machine just to unload and load that really low margin operation. And so that's where Rapid comes in, and that we are working. So the effective rate of a Rapid Machine Operator is anywhere from $6 an hour to $15 an hour. And so in the case of Mr. Fu, that company up-leveled Mr. Fu. They trained him on how to operate our system on an iPad, right? It's a very simple interface, but he's all trained up on it. So he now oversees 8 different Rapid Machine Operators in terms of reloading fixtures, checking on the operations. If there's an issue with one of the robots, we get a support ticket from Mr. Fu. And so it's amazing to see that sort of up-leveling and upskilling of the labor within the human labor within the factories that we're embedded in. Which is great.
Yeah, because one of the pushbacks I used to always have on automation when I was going into factories. Well, we don't want to automate this because we don't want to have to lay people off, or we don't want to scare our people thinking that we're going to replace them with robots. Do you think that's still a prevalent mindset?
2 things. First of all, I mean, nobody's laying anybody off in manufacturing right now, especially in the SME, SMB space.
Yeah.
The labor shortage is crushing. So we talk to so many SMBs and SMEs who are decreasing production by 20 or 25% as a result of a lack of labor. So if the demand for products is as high as it is and growing, but the capacity for us to deliver on increased production is decreasing, then we are in sort of a weird place where that's an inflationary, aspect of the economy that's causing inflation, right? And so it's really important that, we are increasing capacity. So nobody's laying anybody off. And the second is, people want to work around robots.
Right.
When we deploy, especially in facilities that have never had them before, which is about 50 to 60% of our customers have never had robots in the past. And so when we get on the floor, the operators are always, they're like super giddy to want to learn about the system. They want to adapt to the future. They want to be working in an environment that's more technology enabled. They want the really horrendous jobs to go to the robots, right? The really repetitive, the really boring stuff. And they would much rather oversee those fleets of systems.
And I would guess that your customers generally become more competitive and therefore can grow and actually hire more people as their capacity increases, as the quality of product is high when they introduce more automation. Would you say that that's the case, that you see your customers generally growing after implementing
Absolutely.
your solutions?
So we have a number of case studies where our customers had a big piece of business in the U.S., but then there was a portion of that business for a specific product that was overseas. And after a year of working with our system, when that overseas business came up for bid, our customer was able to bring us in and actually participate in the pricing of their bid using a rapid machine operator. And so we're able to give them that sort of pre-proposal on that unit and that system, guarantee that it's going to work in that use case. Then they're able to go and pitch our rapid labor rate on that deployment. And the end result is they're pitching a labor rate. If our labor rate to them is about $7 an hour, they're able to go out and pitch a $12 labor rate and be actually far more margin positive on an hourly basis, while also presenting a labor rate that is lower than the total cost of producing overseas when you have tariffs and freight and the volatility of all of that and the risk of all of that. And so we have so many customers that have won business back from overseas or have won new business from overseas by bringing us in early to the sales process and having us consult with them on the proposals that they're giving.
So you're really helping to reshore manufacturing back to our industry here in America.
It's a big word. It's a big word. Reshoring. Reshoring
right?
is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
People are not just going to pick up, multi-billion-dollar facilities and move them over here,
no.
right? And so what we are actually seeing is a lot of the smaller componentry. The first order of business in reshoring is to protect yourself against the volatility of the supply chain globally.
Yeah.
So your little red stopper for your medical device that you are producing overseas that you use in all your medical devices here in the States doesn't get trapped over there. So all of a sudden you can't produce your core products because you're missing one little component. That's been happening a lot more. And so, as factories are looking to and companies are looking to protect themselves against that volatility, we're going to start seeing more and more of those components sort of come back our way. But it starts with the small stuff and sort of unblocking, sort of issues that have created, volatility on our side in the past.
Right, so they could even potentially just bring more of their supply chain in-house under one roof for those critical components that they need to protect themselves from that volatility. I mean, I've been in this supply chain
right?
the last 2 years, and trust me, I know those issues.
Yeah.
And another thing that I saw, and you mentioned lead times and supply chain and stuff like that. You guys do a fair bit of 3D printing in-house to alleviate some of those issues, right?
We do. So we 3D print, so we custom design and 3D print with carbon fiber all of our end-of-arm tooling and all of our fixturing. And so this enables us, so we get the CAD files. One of the ways we train our AI models is getting the CAD files from our customers. We also use the CAD files of the SKUs to create a gripper strategy that is perfectly mated to the geometry of the part. And so between our vision system being reactive to the environment and between our training on the CAD files and the custom design of the end-of-arm tooling that we 3D print for, really inexpensive. So we can 3D print a gripper for $12 that is so much more reliable than anything you would buy off the shelf because we have custom designed it to perfectly match the geometry and we build self-aligning features into it. So, we're running very precise operations. So let's say that the part shows up, a quarter of a millimeter away from where it should. When we go grasp it, our gripping systems realign the part perfectly in the gripper, and then we chamfer nests and all these other things to guarantee 100% quality and accuracy with every sort of pick and place into a machine. And so that's how we do that.
That is so cool. Okay, we've only got a couple minutes left, so I gotta let Allie ask a question, or maybe I should just say I'll bring Allie by your booth later. But what should she try to see? Do you want to ask a question, Allie?
I was gonna ask for you to just describe your culture real quick, as fast as you can.
Yeah. Okay. So we are huge believers that the culture inside our company is reflected outside to our customers, and so everything is customers first. Customers first. We are one of the only companies in the country that develops technology and delivers that technology directly to manufacturers. So that requires a partnership and a collaborative and sort of a very collaborative mentality. And so internally at the company, we always have a policy of the best ideas come from anywhere. We always want, especially the folks that are on the floor with our customers, deploying robots and doing 24/7 support and service. That's where the feedback comes from about what we build next and what the most important pieces of the technology are that we should be focused on. And so collaboration is key across the board, and and that reflects down to the customers and how we work with them.
Very cool. And so if people want to come talk to you more about this, whether it's your company culture or coming to implement a rapid machine operator, I love that name, by the way. It's just
Thank you.
So cool. What booth are you at?
That's what I just looked at my phone to see because I had a little moment in my head where I inverted. It's 5620.
5620. Go check out Rapid Robotics and talk to them about the rapid machine operator.
And we also have folks in the UR booth demonstrating. So we have a live demo in the UR booth. We have 2 live demos of the system running end-of-line operations in our booth. And then we also are in the Yaskawa booth. So both of our really good partners, Yaskawa and UR, we deploy lots of robots for both of them. So you can see demos and videos and talk with our folks at all 3 of those locations.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us a little bit about this. As you can tell, I could probably ask you questions for another half hour, but I will be seeing you in the booth as well as checking out your partners, UR and Yaskawa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us, guys. We appreciate it. See you in a few minutes.